Welcome to C-Suite Blueprint Radio, conversations with communications strategy consultant and author Ed Barks and his guests. C-Suite Blueprint Radio serves as a practical resource for senior communications and government relations executives who counsel their C-suite leaders. Our goal? To help you achieve your business and public policy goals. Now, here's your host, Ed Barks.
How do communications experts learn to do what they do? Well, think about it. How did you settle on your career path? And how did you get where you've gotten in your professional life? Those are some of the questions today's young people grapple with. How can we help them along the way? Well, we have some answers. Thanks to Gemma Puglisi. She is a professor of public communication at American University in Washington, D.C. Her focus is on such topics as crisis communications, media issues, and women in communications. Last year, Gemma was inducted into the National Capital Public Relations Hall of Fame. And even more impressive than that, she received the Order of the Star and was knighted by the Republic of Italy for her contributions to education and promoting Italian language and culture. It's a pleasure to have Gemma Puglisi with us on C-Suite Blueprint Radio. Gemma, welcome.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. And thanks for all you do to help others learn about our field and to guide them in a very tough and a unique time.
Well, thanks for the kind words. Let me ask you off the bat, what do you find to be the biggest challenge in trying to prepare communication students for the working world?
Well, I think the most important thing right now is, and I've had this discussion with so many people, is we've never really been where we've been before. This has been an extraordinary time. It has impacted our classrooms. It has impacted jobs. It's impacted the economy, health, everything. And I think one of the most important traits to have is being resilient. And I have to say, I've been very honored to see this in my students, the resiliency that they have demonstrated. It's been almost a year that we have had classes online, and it's just been wonderful to see these students be very passionate about what they're learning, not being able to be with each other, but yet demonstrating all these great traits.
And talking about substance, what does the coming generation need to know that past generations like yours and mine did not?
Oh, wow, that is such a great question. You know what, I noticed that I went to an all-girl high school, and I noticed that many of the extraordinary young women that I went to school with got these great jobs, many of them in public service. They work for the government in great agencies, the Veterans Administration, the IRS, the FAA, and they've had long-term careers basically in those professions. That has been their sole jobs, and they stayed with it and they retired. It's a whole different world now. I don't know. I read something a while ago that said today most young professionals will have had 7 different careers, and they attributed it, of course, to technology. But I think the pandemic has opened a whole nother spectrum to all of this. And that is, again, to be able to adapt and be flexible and just be able to go with the flow, as they say. Because if someone, a young professional, is able to do that, I think they will be very, very successful. It's just, again, we've never seen where we've been before. So being able to adapt and be able to handle it with grace and professionalism and support is important.
Let's look at the other side of that question too, and in this way. What can new practitioners ignore that those of us who've been in the field for decades needed to learn back when?
Well, I mean, again, patience. Professionalism is important that you have, and understanding that being open to possibilities. I think that's really important. Our fields are changing, and you may have wanted to be in a specific role or in a specific job or work for a specific place. I just read, I lived in New York for years, and I have my New York magazine, and the cover story was how 500 businesses have gone under because of the pandemic. So people have to understand how to take great skills that they've learned and apply them to the opportunity, the various opportunities that may exist. That's very important. If you are very well grounded, learn great communication skills, ethics, understand how to manage, work with teams. You can take all of those skills to whatever opportunities there are. And I think that's where things have changed from when I grew up, which were important traits to have for sure. But I think, this generation is being told, suddenly we've had so many things that are unexpected, someplace we've never been before, as I mentioned earlier. And so these traits are needed now more than ever. You'll never know if you've worked at a great company and it's been around for 100 years and suddenly they have to close shop. It's how are you going to find that next job? And I think having these important basic skills will help you find another great opportunity.
I really appreciate you bringing the word ethics into the conversation. How do you teach ethics?
That's a tough call, right? We have seen so much of that, of ethics in politics this year and for a long time, of behavior of CEOs, some CEOs, of course, not all, but we have seen, and history has shown us, bad management, not having any ethics is crucial. And I'm honored to say, I was part of the Commission on Peer Education, I still am, and they came out with a report a couple of years ago. And in that report, they strongly recommended that all schools teach an ethics class as a requirement. And if it can't be taught as a separate class, to absolutely incorporate it in any PR class, any media class, or journalism class. It's extremely important because it really defines a person. It really defines who you are, how you run your business, how you run your life. And it's extremely important. It is a fundamental, important trait to have and must have in all parts of your life.
You've mentioned the challenge that all of us are facing these days with a shift to remote learning. It's been an adjustment for everyone, clearly. My clients find it challenging. I find it challenging when I'm trying to lead a workshop remotely. So how has remote learning affected the way you teach and affected your ability to teach?
Great question. My heart goes out to, honestly, elementary teachers, school teachers, and pre-kindergarten and kindergarten and middle school and high school. I know we are a technology-oriented world, but having to teach, especially young people, is a challenge because you're growing, you're learning, and the interaction with your classmates, your teachers is so important and fundamental. With these challenges, though, I have to say, of what I have seen, and I mentioned earlier, I have been so impressed with the resilience of the students. And I taught a public speaking class last semester, and in this online class, students really shared experiences, speeches they really have enjoyed and been inspired, challenges in their lives. And the students just so bonded with one another, and they were from all over the country and the world. And it was really a beautiful thing to experience. And I just got the other day an email from a student saying, I'm really going to miss our class this semester because I really missed my classmates. So with the challenges brought some really incredible elements to it, the understanding the distance, but yet literally connecting with the internet. As professors, it's been hard too, because all of us, and that's why my heart goes out to elementary school teachers and high school teachers, because it's learning the different, learning whether you're doing it on Canvas, on Blackboard. It's a learning curve, and we all had to do it like quickly, and so it really did change education. However, it also has changed the working world. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it is really, again, changing how businesses are going to conduct their day-to-day operations. Are we going to see a lot more of them doing it online to save money? And are they going to have the day-to-day coming into the office, or is it just going to be sporadic? It's a whole different world. And I'm proud to see that students that I teach are working hard and doing their best to learn as much as they can and to adapt.
Well, I'm encouraged to hear about your experiences and the positivity of them. Now, a quick reminder for our listeners to keep up with the latest in communication strategy and training, become a member of the communications community. When you sign up online at barkscom.com, you receive a checklist making you eligible to receive our insider strategies briefs that offer advice on dealing with the media, speaking in public, and advocating before policymakers. You'll also receive twice monthly emails to help you sharpen your communications edge. Just visit barkscom.com and tell us where to send it. Join the community today. Back now with Gemma Puglisi and our conversation about educating the next crop of communicators. Gemma, before we go any further, I've got to ask you about being knighted by the Republic of Italy. I imagine that's got to be a once-in-a-lifetime thrill.
It was. I'm a first-generation Italian-American. My parents were both born in Italy, and my two big sisters, were also born in Italy. And it meant so much to be recognized by the Republic of Italy. The time that I received it, I had really wanted to learn more about my heritage, and I'm very passionate about it. And so I became very involved in the community. I'm happy to be a member of the National Organization of Italian American Women to continue that tradition. But it meant so much to me, I have to tell you, because my parents are no longer here. And they had such an influence on my life, and they were extraordinary mentors. I'm very grateful for the sacrifices that they made. And when I got the award, it was very low key. I went to the Embassy of Italy here in Washington, D.C., which is such a beautiful embassy. And the only sad part of it is that Mom and Dad weren't there, but I know they were looking down. But I thank you for mentioning that. My heritage means a great deal to me.
Well, congratulations. I
Thanks.
say without reservation that you are the first person who has been knighted to appear on C-Suite Blueprint Radio. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's get back to your students and your teaching at American University. What types of resources do you lean on for your students these days in a remote learning environment? Is it books? Is it blogs? Is it videos? Is it legitimate journalism outlets?
It's everything. It's everything. And our American University does an extraordinary job helping us as faculty members with research, with amazing references. And I look at everything. I spend half of my career as a journalist, very lucky to have been that. And a good chunk of my other life has been in the media relations, public relations field. And so I'm very blessed to have all these resources near me. And particularly, I know a lot of great people, as you do, Ed, in the profession, and Washington is filled with them. And remotely, people can come from all over the place, all over the world. And so that to me has been a great, reference and opportunity for my students. I have brought in some great guest speakers, one of who is a dear friend of mine and colleague, and that is Richard Benedetto, who was one of the founding members of USA Today. And he was the former White House correspondent for USA Today. And he has extraordinary stories of what it was like covering various presidents and speeches that these presidents made, how they led the country. And so, and you as well, so many people, and they tend to be the greatest resources that you can find.
If a fresh out of school green communications major wants to follow in your footsteps and one day aspire to join the National Capital Public Relations Hall of Fame, what do you advise them to do? What's the path?
Well, thank you for mentioning that, but I have to be honest with you, this was not the path I thought I was going to go through. And so the experience is always be open to opportunities. And I say that to students all the time. You may go to college and you may get your great public communication degree, your PR degree, or journalism degree, and they're all fantastic. And that's why I think they're great fields, because they make you a great communicator. Take those opportunities, and if a door opens and it sounds like something you want to pursue, open it, because you never know where it can lead. I was a music major and I was a drama major, and I loved entertainment, and I thought I wanted to go into acting for a long time. And I love the theater, and I love movies, and I love television series. And, as I went into my early career after leaving grad school with my master's in drama, I was able to work for a talent agency for actors and actresses. And then from there, had an opportunity to work in news. And that was just an incredible world for me. I was honored to work for NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw and some amazing colleagues. And then from there, I ended up working in media relations. So you have to be open to opportunities and network. Really, when I think back of some of the jobs I received or I got, it was because of networking. Like I knew someone who told me, oh, someone's looking for somebody, why don't you give them a call? It's extraordinary. Don't underestimate, even your professors know people. So, I know sometimes students are afraid to reach out to the professors sometimes, for jobs. But you just have to be open. You just have to, open. The world is, again, full of possibilities. And those possibilities can open a whole different world for you. And I think that's what's very fulfilling.
Students, that's all good advice. I hope you're taking notes out there. Gemma, what's the best way for listeners to get in touch with you with any questions they might have?
Oh, of course. It's my last name, Puglisi, P as in Peter, U, G, L-I, S as in Sam, I, Puglisi at American.edu. And I'll do my best to get back to you.
Well, thanks to Gemma Puglisi, Professor of Public Communication at American University, for joining us on C-Suite Blueprint Radio. This is Ed Barks. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to C-Suite Blueprint Radio with Ed Barks. Check out the show notes on the C-Suite Blueprint blog. While you're there, comment on this episode by sharing your thoughts in the Leave a Reply box. To learn how Ed can help you reach your business and public policy goals, visit barkscom.com. That's BARKSCOMM.com. Tune in again soon here on C-Suite Blueprint Radio.